Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and Happy New Year 2025 to all our amazing listeners today. We're going to get deep dives into a topic that's both fascinating and, I got to say, a bit shocking. The intricate dance between electricity and life itself. You might be thinking, electricity? Sounds a bit dry, doesn't it? But trust me, this is anything BUT. We're diving deep into Robert O Becker's cross currents, Arthur Firstenberg's The Invisible Rainbow. Buckle up, folks. This one's going to electrify your understanding of the world around us. Okay, let's get this current flowing.
You know, it's really captivating how we tend to think of electricity as this modern marvel, but its influence on life stretches back to the very beginnings, even before we understood what it was.
Totally. It's like this hidden force that's been shaping life from the shadows. And speaking of history, Firstenberg drops us right into the 1860s, a time when the telegraph was rapidly connecting the world, but also strangely coinciding with the rise of a new and perplexing illness called neurasthenia. People were experiencing fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, basically everything we associate with modern-day stress. It's almost like the world was getting wired up a little too fast.
It is fascinating how those symptoms from over a century ago still resonate so strongly today. It really makes you wonder if there's a deeper connection between our increasingly electrified world and our well-being.
Right. And here's where it gets even weirder. Doctors back then observed that pregnant women and individuals considered delicate seemed especially susceptible to these neurasthenic symptoms, particularly during thunderstorms. It's like they were human lightning rods picking up on these atmospheric electrical surges.
This points to a heightened sensitivity to electrical changes in the environment, something that perhaps we've lost touch with as we've become more insulated from the natural world.
And wait, there's more. Firstenberg even highlights that people reported similar neurasthenic symptoms after earthquakes. This led some to speculate that these seismic events were causing some kind of electrical disturbance in the earth, leading to these widespread health issues. I mean, I talk about feeling the Earth's energy.
It's like the planet itself was sending out distress signals, revealing this intimate link between its electrical systems and our own.
Okay, so far we've talked about electricity as this potential source of harm, but here's a plot twist. Both Becker and Firstenberg also delve into the history of electrotherapy, using electricity to treat ailments. And get this, it was a huge hit. People were lining up to get zapped with electricity.
It's almost a forgotten chapter in medical history. Back in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, electrotherapy was all the rage. Used for everything from pain relief and paralysis to even reviving people who had drowned. It's like a scene out of a Frankenstein movie, but with happy endings.
Right. Firstenberg even mentions this place called the London Electrical Dispensary. They treated a whopping 8,000 patients with electricity between 1793 and 1819, and over 80% were either cured or significantly relieved. That's a success rate any modern clinic would be envious of.
It challenges our modern perception of electricity as this purely dangerous force. It raises the question, what were these early practitioners tapping into that we seem to have overlooked?
Exactly. It's like they stumbled upon a hidden language of healing, speaking to the body in its own electrical tongue. But then as the 20th century rolled around, electrotherapy kind of faded into obscurity, maybe because electricity became associated with heavy machinery and industrial power, rather than this subtle force for healing.
It's a classic example of how cultural shifts and technological advancements can influence our understanding of science and medicine. It's like electricity got rebranded from a gentle healer to a powerful industrial workhorse.
And this leads us to a fascinating paradox. Firstenberg discusses the work of Jagadish Chandra Bose, an Indian scientist who did some groundbreaking experiments on nerves in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. He found that weak electrical currents actually stimulated nerves, while strong currents inhibited them. It's like electricity had this dual nature, a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, capable of both healing and harming, depending on its application.
This is a critical point. It underscores that the effects of electricity on biological systems are not simply a matter of more is worse. It's about the specific type of electrical energy, the intensity, and how it interacts with the intricate electrical circuits within our bodies. It's like tuning a radio. You need the right frequency to get a clear signal.
So we've established that electricity has this complex, nuanced relationship with living organisms. It can heal, it can harm, it can stimulate, it can inhibit. It's like the ultimate multitasker. But how does it actually interact with our bodies on a deeper level? This is where Becker's work gets really mind-blowing.
He proposed a radical concept, that our bodies have their own internal DC electrical control system, a body electric that's like a hidden network, regulating growth, healing, And even perhaps consciousness itself. It's like we're walking, talking electrical circuits.
Hold on. Are you telling me that we're basically like human batteries running on electrical currents? Suddenly that afternoon coffee makes so much more sense.
Well, not exactly batteries,
Mhm.
but there are definitely electrical currents flowing through us, orchestrating a symphony of biological processes. Becker stumbled upon this incredible concept while studying bone healing and limb regeneration in salamanders. He found that injured areas generated weak electrical currents that seemed to be guiding the healing process. It's like the body's own internal repair crew, using electrical signals to rebuild and regenerate.
Whoa. Salamanders regrowing limbs with electricity. That's straight out of a comic book. So how did Becker connect this to us humans?
He discovered that similar DC currents were present in human bone fractures. And what's even more fascinating is that stimulating these currents with external electricity could actually speed up the healing process. It's like giving the body's natural electrical system a boost, helping it to repair and regenerate faster.
That's incredible. So what exactly is this DC system controlling? Is it just about bone healing or is there more to it?
Becker believed this DC system played a much larger role, influencing a whole range of processes from embryonic development and wound healing to the regeneration of limbs in certain animals. It's like this hidden electrical blueprint guiding the very formation and repair of our physical bodies. He saw it as a kind of analog computer within us, a concept that challenged the traditional mechanistic view of biology and suggested a more holistic, interconnected system where electricity played a central role.
This body electric idea is absolutely blowing my mind. It's like we have this whole other level of communication happening within us beyond the nervous system, where electrical signals are guiding the symphony of life. But wait, we can't forget about magnetism, can we? It's like the yin to electricity's yang, always dancing together.
Absolutely. Becker's research also explored the influence of the Earth's magnetic field on living organisms. We've all heard about how homing pigeons use magnetic crystals in their brains to navigate right. Well, it turns out they're not the only ones tapping into this invisible force.
Yeah. Sea turtles, too. They use the Earth's magnetic field to migrate across vast distances. It's like an internal compass guiding them on these epic ocean journeys.
Exactly. And this brings us to a potentially concerning aspect of our story. As we've increasingly surrounded ourselves with man-made electromagnetic fields, from power lines, cell phones, Wi-Fi, and countless other gadgets, we've essentially modified our electromagnetic environment. It's like we've woven this invisible web of electromagnetic energy around ourselves, and we're only beginning to understand the potential consequences.
It's like we've traded the Earth's natural harmonious magnetic hum for a chaotic artificial symphony of electromagnetic noise. And this is where Firstenberg's work in the invisible rainbow becomes particularly relevant. He argues that this dramatic shift in our electromagnetic environment could be a major contributor to a whole host of modern health problems.
Exactly. It's like we've become so focused on the wonders of the electrical world we've created that we've overlooked the potential downsides of tampering with this fundamental force of nature. And that's what we'll explore further as we dive deeper into the research.
This has been an electrifying start to our deep dive. We've gone from the mysteries of neurasthenia to the shocking revelation that our bodies are basically electrical circuits guided by a body electric and influenced by the Earth's magnetic field. And now, we're about to delve into the potentially concerning side effects of our increasingly electromagnetic world. Stay tuned, folks. This is just the beginning of our journey into the hidden world of electricity and life.
Okay, so let's dive into some specifics about how these electromagnetic fields might be impacting our health. Firstenberg argues that the very foundation of life, our cellular metabolism, is being disrupted by this invisible bombardment of electromagnetic energy.
Okay, before we go any further, remind me what cellular metabolism is exactly. High school biology feels like a lifetime ago.
Think of it as the intricate engine that keeps our cells humming. It's the process of converting food into energy, a complex dance of chemical reactions that power all the functions of our bodies.
Right, so it's like the power grid of our cells.
Yeah.
Keeping everything running smoothly.
Exactly. And one of the key players in this cellular power grid are porphyrins. They're these complex molecules that act like tiny delivery trucks, transporting oxygen and electrons within our cells, keeping the energy flowing.
So they're like the lifeblood of our cells, making sure everything gets the fuel it needs to function.
That's a great way to put it. But here's the catch. Firstenberg points out that porphyrins are extremely sensitive to electromagnetic fields. He suggests that these external fields, the ones we've created with all our technology, might be interfering with the way porphyrins operate, disrupting the delicate flow of oxygen and electrons within our cells.
So it's like those electromagnetic fields are throwing a wrench into the cellular machinery, messing up the delivery routes and causing energy shortages.
Precisely. And this can have a ripple effect throughout the entire body. When cellular metabolism is disrupted, our cells can't produce energy efficiently, making them more vulnerable to damage and dysfunction. It's like running a car on fumes. Eventually, something's going to give.
That makes perfect sense. So how does all this relate to those specific diseases? Firstenberg links to electromagnetic fields, heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Let's start with heart disease. Firstenberg highlights this intriguing observation from World War I. There was a sudden surge in soldiers being diagnosed with irritable heart or effort syndrome. Even though these were young, healthy men, they were experiencing chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, symptoms we typically associate with much older individuals.
That's strange. You'd think soldiers would be in peak physical condition, ready for battle. What was going on? Was it just the stress of war?
Stress certainly played a role, but Firstenberg points out that this was also the time when radio communication was rapidly being deployed for military purposes. He suggests that these powerful radio waves might have been interfering with the heart's delicate electrical system, leading to these cardiac symptoms.
So it's not just about cell phones and Wi-Fi. Even those early radio waves might have had a significant impact on people's health.
Exactly. And the issue has only amplified as we've added more and more sources of electromagnetic radiation to our environment. Firstenberg points to research showing a link between exposure to radio waves and changes in heart rate variability, a key indicator of cardiovascular health. It's like we're constantly bombarding our hearts with invisible electrical noise, making it harder for them to maintain a healthy rhythm.
Wow. That's definitely food for thought.
Okay.
So we've covered heart disease. What about cancer? That's a big one that always seems to be lurking in the shadows.
This is where things get really interesting. Firstenberg connects the rise of cancer to the groundbreaking work of Otto Warburg, a Nobel Prize-winning scientist who devoted his life to understanding cellular metabolism. You might have heard of the Warburg effect.
Ah, yes, the Warburg effect. It rings a bell. Didn't he say something about cancer cells having a different way of generating energy, like they're running on a different fuel source?
That's right. Warburg discovered that cancer cells primarily use a process called glycolysis to generate energy, even when oxygen is readily available. This is in stark contrast to normal healthy cells, which primarily rely on oxidative phosphorylation, a much more efficient process that requires oxygen.
So cancer cells are like those gas-guzzling cars, burning through fuel quickly and inefficiently, while healthy cells are more like those sleek hybrid vehicles, sipping on energy and running smoothly.
Perfect analogy. And Warburg believed that this shift to glycolysis wasn't just a side effect of cancer, but a fundamental characteristic, even suggesting that it might be the root cause of the disease. He saw it as a metabolic malfunction at the cellular level.
Interesting. But where do electromagnetic fields fit into all of this? It still seems like a bit of a leap.
This is where Firstenberg makes a bold and thought-provoking connection. He argues that electromagnetic fields might be disrupting the delicate balance of cellular respiration, essentially pushing cells towards that less efficient glycolytic pathway that Warburg identified. It's like those external fields are interfering with the cellular control panel, flipping the switch from efficient energy production to emergency power mode.
Hold on. Are you saying that electromagnetic fields might be influencing our cells to act more like cancer cells? By pushing them towards this less efficient energy production? That's a pretty scary thought.
It is a provocative idea, but Firstenberg backs it up with some compelling evidence. He cites studies showing that exposure to electromagnetic fields can increase glucose uptake in cells, a hallmark of glycolysis. It's like those electromagnetic fields are force-feeding our cells sugar, causing them to gorge themselves on glucose and shift their metabolism in a way that could potentially promote cancer development.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these pieces of the puzzle fit together. The disruption of porphyrins, the shift to glycolysis, the rise of cancer. It's like this cascade of events, all stemming from this invisible electromagnetic interference. But what about diabetes? How does messed up metabolism lead to that?
It all boils down to insulin resistance. Insulin is like a key that unlocks the doors of our cells, allowing glucose to enter and be used for energy. But when cellular metabolism is disrupted, our cells become less responsive to insulin. It's like the locks on the cell doors are getting rusty and jammed, making it harder for insulin to do its job.
So it's like the cells are saying, insulin, who's that? We don't need your glucose deliveries. We're already stuffed from all this electromagnetic junk food.
Exactly. And when this happens, Glucose builds up in the bloodstream, leading to the high blood sugar levels that characterize diabetes. It's like the delivery trucks are piling up outside the cells,
Right.
unable to unload their cargo.
Wow. This is really making me rethink my relationship with my smartphone. But Firstenberg doesn't stop there, does he? He even connects electromagnetic fields to neurological problems like Alzheimer's disease. That's terrifying.
Right. He suggests that the brain, being this incredibly complex and electrical organ, is particularly vulnerable to electromagnetic disruption. He cites research showing that exposure to electromagnetic fields can alter brainwave patterns, affect sleep, and even impair memory and cognitive function. It's like those electromagnetic fields are creating static in the brain, disrupting its ability to process information and function optimally.
And remember that research we talked about earlier, suggesting that cell phones might be weakening the blood-brain barrier. That adds a whole other layer of concern.
Exactly. If the blood-brain barrier is compromised, it's like opening the floodgates, allowing toxins and other harmful substances to enter the brain, potentially contributing to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's.
Okay, I have to admit, I'm officially freaked out. But you mentioned earlier that there are things we can do to protect ourselves from this invisible electromagnetic storm. Let's get to the solutions, please.
Absolutely. It's not all doom and gloom. Firstenberg offers practical advice on how to minimize our exposure to electromagnetic fields. And Becker reminds us of the incredible power of our own internal electrical systems to heal and regenerate. We have more agency than we might realize.
Okay, give us the goods. What are the top tips for navigating this electromagnetic maze and protecting our health?
Well, one of the most important things is to be aware of the sources of electromagnetic fields in your environment and take steps to reduce your exposure. It's like being a detective, tracing the electrical pathways in your home and identifying potential areas of high electromagnetic activity.
So, I should grab my EMF meter and start hunting for electromagnetic hotspots. Should I start by throwing my smartphone in the ocean?
Well, chucking your smartphone might be a bit drastic. There are simpler, more practical things you can do. For example, you can move your bed away from electrical outlets and wiring, avoid using electric blankets, and limit your use of cordless phones and Wi-Fi devices, especially in your bedroom. It's about creating a sanctuary of calm, low EMF energy where you can recharge and regenerate.
Creating an electromagnetic-free zone in the bedroom sounds like a great idea. I could use a little more sleep and a little less electromagnetic buzz. What else can we do?
Becker emphasizes the importance of grounding, both literally and figuratively. Spending time barefoot on the earth can help balance your body's electrical charge, and practices like meditation and mindfulness can help reduce stress, which can further disrupt your electrical system. It's like plugging into the earth's natural energy and tuning out the electromagnetic noise of the modern world.
So getting into nature and calming the mind. Those are both excellent strategies, regardless of electromagnetic concerns. I can definitely get on board with that. Any other tech-related tips?
Absolutely. Opt for wired connections whenever possible. Use a wired Ethernet connection for your computer instead of Wi-Fi, and use a headset or speakerphone when talking on your cell phone to keep it away from your head. It's about minimizing those direct, close-range exposures to electromagnetic fields.
Great advice. And I imagine limiting screen time in general is probably a good idea, too.
Definitely. Excessive screen time, especially before bed, can disrupt sleep patterns and contribute to stress, which, as we've discussed, can further throw your body's electrical system out of whack. It's about giving your brain and body a break from the constant stimulation of the digital world.
Okay. I'm starting to feel a little more empowered.
Yeah.
It's not about living in a tech-free cave, but about making conscious choices to minimize our exposure and support our body's natural resilience and ability to heal. It's about taking back control of our electromagnetic environment.
Exactly. And there's so much more to explore in this realm. We haven't even touched on the fascinating world of energy medicine, which uses various techniques to harness and balance the body's own electrical and magnetic energies for healing.
Ooh. That sounds like a whole other deep dive. We'll have to add that to the list. But for now, I think our listeners need a moment to process all this mind-blowing information. We've covered a lot of ground, from the cellular level to the global electromagnetic landscape.
I agree. It's a lot to take in. But remember, knowledge is power. By understanding the potential risks and the available solutions, we can make informed choices to protect our health and well-being. And that's what this deep dive is all about.
This has been an incredible journey so far. From the historical mysteries of neurasthenia to the shocking discoveries about our body's electrical systems, and now, the potential dangers lurking in our technologically advanced world. It's a lot to process, but also incredibly empowering. But we're not done yet. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore the philosophical implications of these discoveries, delve into the world of energy medicine, and envision a future where technology and biology can coexist in harmony. Stay tuned, folks. The best is yet to come. We've really been through the ringer in this deep dive, from the historical mystery of neurasthenia to the shocking revelation that our bodies are basically electrical circuits, and now the potential dangers of living in this increasingly electromagnetic world. It's been a journey full of twists and turns.
Sure.
And honestly, I'm feeling a little electrified myself.
I hear ya. It's a lot to absorb. But I think it's important to remember that knowledge is power. The more we understand these complex interactions between electricity and life, the better equipped we are to make informed choices for our well-being.
Absolutely. But as we head into this new year, I'm curious about the bigger picture. What are the philosophical implications of all this? What does it mean for our understanding of life itself?
That's a deep question, and one that both Becker and Firstenberg grappled with in their work. Becker, for instance, believed that his research on the body electric pointed to a fundamental shift in our understanding of biology. He saw this DC electrical system not merely as a control system for growth and healing, but as a potential bridge between the physical body and the mind.
Okay, now you've really got my attention. A bridge between the body and the mind. That sounds like something straight out of a science fiction novel.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But Becker was a true visionary. He argued that this DC electrical system might be the very foundation of consciousness itself, even speculating that it could explain things like psychic abilities and the power of intention.
Whoa. That's venturing into some pretty mind-blowing territory. So you're saying that our thoughts, our intentions, could actually be influencing our biology through this electrical system?
It's a fascinating concept, and while it might be considered fringe science by some, I think it's a testament to Becker's willingness to push the boundaries of conventional thinking. He wasn't afraid to explore the mysteries of consciousness and the interconnectedness of all things.
I have to admit, there's something really compelling about the idea that we're not just these mechanical beings, but these vibrant, energetic systems with the potential to influence our own health and well-being through our thoughts and intentions.
Absolutely. And this is where Firstenberg's work adds another layer of depth. He reminds us that we've essentially swapped a natural electromagnetic environment for an artificial one in the blink of an eye, evolutionarily speaking.
Right. He talks about how life on Earth evolved in harmony with the planet's natural electromagnetic rhythms, the Schumann resonances, the geomagnetic field, the subtle electrical currents flowing through the Earth. It's like we've been living in this cozy electromagnetic cocoon for millennia.
And
then suddenly we've ripped it open.
Yeah.
And exposed ourselves to a whole new spectrum of frequencies.
That's a great way to put it. And Firstenberg suggests that this disconnect from our natural electromagnetic environment might be contributing to a sense of unease, a loss of connection, a feeling of being out of sync with the world around us.
It's like we've unplugged ourselves from the Earth's natural battery and plugged into a chaotic artificial grid. No wonder we're feeling frazzled.
Exactly. And this raises a crucial question. Can our bodies and minds truly adapt to such rapid and dramatic changes in our electromagnetic environment? What are the long-term consequences of this disconnect?
Right, and Firstenberg doesn't shy away from addressing those consequences. He argues that this disconnect might be affecting not just our physical health, but also our mental, emotional, and even spiritual well-being. He even suggests that it might be contributing to societal problems like anxiety, depression, and violence.
It's a sobering thought, but it's also a call to action. We have the power to make choices that support our connection to the natural world, to spend more time in nature, to minimize our exposure to artificial electromagnetic fields, to cultivate practices that ground us and bring us back into balance.
I love that. Shifting from fear to empowerment. It's not about rejecting technology altogether, but about using it wisely and consciously. It's about finding ways to weave technology back into the fabric of life in a way that's both beneficial and sustainable.
Precisely. And this brings us to the exciting realm of energy medicine, which acknowledges the body's innate electrical and magnetic nature and explores ways to support and enhance those natural healing processes.
You mentioned energy medicine earlier. Can you give us a case of what that entails? What are some of the approaches that energy medicine offers?
Well, there's a whole spectrum of techniques, ranging from ancient practices like acupuncture and qigong to more modern approaches like biofeedback and pulsed electromagnetic field therapy.
Wow. That sounds like a fascinating mix of the old and the new. Can you give us a quick rundown of each?
Absolutely. Acupuncture, for instance, is based on the idea that there are specific energy pathways or meridians flowing through the body. By stimulating these points with needles, acupuncturists can help balance the flow of energy and promote healing.
I've heard that acupuncture can be really effective for pain relief. Is that true?
It can be, and it's increasingly being used to treat a wide range of conditions, from insomnia and anxiety to infertility and digestive problems. It's a testament to the power of working with the body's subtle energy systems.
What about Qigong? I've seen people practicing these slow, graceful movements in the park. What's the story there?
Qigong is a mind-body practice that combines gentle movement, breathing techniques, and focused intention to cultivate and balance qi or vital energy within the body. It's been practiced in China for thousands of years and is said to have a wide range of health benefits, including stress reduction, improved circulation, and enhanced immune function.
Okay, so acupuncture and Qigong are more traditional approaches. What about those modern techniques you mentioned? Biofeedback and pulsed electromagnetic field therapy.
Biofeedback is a fascinating technique that uses electronic devices to monitor physiological processes like heart rate, muscle tension, and skin temperature. By learning to consciously control these processes through feedback from the devices, people can reduce stress, improve sleep, and even manage chronic pain.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like hacking your own nervous system.
It is, and it highlights the incredible power of the mind-body connection. Then there's pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, which uses specific frequencies of electromagnetic energy to stimulate healing and regeneration. It's been shown to be effective for bone healing, pain relief, and even reducing inflammation.
So it's like using electricity to recharge the body electric. I love it.
Exactly, and I think that's a beautiful metaphor for the future we're envisioning. A future where we understand and respect the profound interconnectedness of electricity and life, where we use technology to enhance our well-being, while honoring the wisdom of our bodies and the natural world.
It's about bridging the gap between science and spirituality, between the seen and the unseen, between the head and the heart. And I think that's a perfect note to end on. As we step into this new year, let's embrace this vision of a future where technology and biology coexist in harmony. Let's keep questioning, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep striving to create a world where life flourishes in all its wondrous forms.
Beautifully said. And until next time, keep diving deep into the mysteries of the universe. There's always more to discover.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.